Welcome back, you filthy exiles. So, we're a few days off the new league start, and the manifesto for game balance changes has come out for the Path of Exile Heist League, was at 3.12. Anyway, what GGG giveth, it taketh away. But, yeah, let's run through this and have a bit of a conversation about what they've actually done. So, and we'll keep this really brief, but this is my standpoint on it, and I haven't watched any videos on what anyone else has done on this, so this is just me riffing basically. So, looking at the first thing, they're attacking Necromancers, which is Mistress of Sacrifice, and they're also attacking Assassins, which are using the crit chance and multiplier of Assassin's Deadly Infusion. There's a reason for this, so if we look at Harvest League, and this is our own fault, we're our own worst enemies for this. 22% of players were playing Assassins and 22% were Necromancers. If we go back and, can we go back and we can see, fuck it, we're not going to go that far. Anyway, so the stat is relatively the same on most league on league. Also, considering that last league they released all of the Warcry changes and everything, they're probably a bit pissy about the fact that everyone just played Necromancers and Assassins. But oh well, that's what we do. We play Necromancers and Assassins every league. Anyway, glancing blows. So obviously glancing blow meant that you took 50% of the damage from when you block a hit, but it gave you crazy amounts of damage mitigation as an overall anyway. So anyway, and I'm pretty sure there was a shield that that permitted glancing blow as well. Anyway, they've taken that from, I think it was 50% to 65% now, so they're attacking us on the glancing blow builds because apparently it was too OP. And the same with Divine Flesh. So Divine Flesh is when you get a, if I remember in my build notes, is when you run Glorious Vanity. And basically Divine Flesh means that you stack Chaos, Chaos Resist, to basically provide you additional mitigation for elemental damage. The more Chaos Resist you stack, the better the mitigation. Anyway, they've attacked that, but that's not really going to impact the community very much. I'm actually going to run Divine Flesh this league on my Hoa Hop Jug, Summoner Jug. But it's still viable, there's no problems with that. So I think we're all good. Enduring Cry, they're basically just nerfing that, because basically what people were doing were mapping that with the auto cast. I'll just bring open POB4. Path of Building Community Fork. So basically what people were doing, they were mapping it to their right, their left click, and as they move, which you can still do that. So if we take a look at this tree here, so they would basically map it to call to arms, and then basically set it as their left click ability so they could continually cast endurance charges. You can still do that, but now it's limiting it to you have to have one enemy in the vicinity, general vicinity, and there's an 8-second cooldown on it, which means you can cast it less, and it's, you can't proc endurance charges before you start running. So it's a little bit of a pain, but nothing that's going to hinder us too much. Lightning Ball was bullshit overpowered last league, so I can understand why they've dropped that, but also, like, why keep dropping damage on shit that we like playing? Why don't you just let us play what we want to play? Anyway, I'm sure everyone's got the same opinion about it, so I'm not going to go too far into that, but they always do this every league, and it's really friggin' annoying that they just don't let us play the game that, the way that we want to play it. Like, stop nerfing our favorite builds, for fuck's sake. Spell Slingers, obviously a lot of people were playing Spell Slingers, so they've nerfed the shit out of spell slinging. That's not unexpected. Now, Redemption Sentries. They have attacked Redemption Sentries, and they've impacted the damage and life of Redemption Sentries. Here's the thing though, and I'll bring up my Spectre build from last league. So, they would have had to have nerfed Redemption Sentries so harshly that, number one, they could, and my build wasn't even the highest octane build you could get out there for a single sentry. Each one of my 5 sentries was doing in the vicinity of 1.2, 1.3 million DPS plus, and other builds were doing way more than my build was even doing. Actually, like it did more than that with certain procs. But anyway, so not only would they need to and we'll see in the patch notes, they would have to so significantly decrease their effectiveness. And to be honest with you, if they nerf redemption sentries beyond all call, okay, well, bugger it, we'll just go back to slave drivers. But then survivability wise, we're talking about 4,500 life regen, a pool of 146,000 HP, and then, you know, we're talking 10.2 thousand life and on hit rate regeneration and 15,000 ES. Now, so anyone who's saying redemption sentries are nerfed, they're not going to be playable, that's quite frankly bullshit. Like, and this is not, my build is a cheap build. You can min-max the absolute crap out of that build and get it going to all different levels, and it just completely flogs the damage up. So there's no way that they're going to be nerfing redemption sentries so much that it's going to be unplayable. It's still going to be extremely playable. It will still probably be the best Spectre. So it doesn't look like they're attacking the Spectre gem again, because they already nerfed that. It was in the previous league or the league before. They're just attacking the minion that everyone's playing. But realistically, it's not going to hinder us too much. Cluster jewels, they're just rebalancing cluster jewels, but nothing that affects. Yeah, so they're taking on Vengeful Commander. I can understand why they would do that. That was basically how we were buffing up they're basically attacking redemption sentry builds essentially, but I don't think they're going to be able to nerf it enough that it's going to be, again, ineffective. They're just never going to be able to nerf things in that way to make it unplayable completely, because I know what they're trying to do at this stage. They're trying to slow our gameplay down to meet their new mechanics moving into PoE 2, but I just don't think that that's going to happen. Vitality now is... Vitality is a pretty underused skill gem in this day and age, unless you're running like if you're running Righteous Fire builds and things like that, you'll probably use it, but you don't need to use it anymore. So they're making that a flat mana reservation gem like Clarity or Precision, and then as you level it up, it will obviously probably consume more mana as you go, and give you an increased flat rate of regeneration, not a percentage amount anymore. So that's good. Impurity skills, nah, not really anything to note. They've changed some ailment modifiers. Okay, and they're basically building Sap and Brittle more into the standard game mechanics, so you don't have to run cluster jewels and whatnot. So I can understand them doing that, because there's some items that permit that now too. Projectile behavior ordering. We've changed the order that projectiles will perform special behaviors, so that splitting now occurs first, followed by pierce, followed by... So they're basically just creating order of operation for projectile chaining. Now, that may have an impact, it may not. We'll see how that works in this league. Reduces visibility and stealth. Sources of reduced visibility have now been changed. So they're starting to change mechanics in the game by this. So they're changing visibility, reduced visibility to the key term stealth. Okay, we'll have half the range and monsters detect you at. So they're actually trying to build a relevant functional stealth mechanic into the game. That's probably off the back of the Heist League, but we'll see how that works and whether or not that's... So think of the game of like Thief or something like that, where there's an enemy alertness or detection rating that wasn't previously built into the game because it was never really a mechanic that existed in the standard game itself. But it looks like they're trying to build that in to cater for the Heist League itself, which is probably a bit of a prototype build in there. Anyway, changes to mods which provide flat life regeneration. So flat life regeneration mods provide provide a substantial amount of defensive power at low levels, but yeah, so no one runs flat life regen on anything at higher tier because it's garbage. The values of the many mods which provide flat life regeneration have been increased as much as 100%. So, okay, that becomes a game changer if they're saying 100%, you know, we're talking from going from 10 to, you know, 100. That is a significant change to that mechanic, and that would actually make life rolls more, you know, that particular life roll more relevant than even percentage life regeneration on some gearing. So, potentially that's actually that's a good move in the right direction. So I think they're trying to really boost life players, because it's generally the more upper tier caster builds and whatnot are using ES builds that have crazy amounts of regeneration on ES, because there's multiple formats of doing that with ES, but life builds don't necessarily have that love, so they're trying to make it much more sustainable for life builds in the end game, in particular versing some of the crazier bosses out there, which actually is going to make Righteous Fire builds even better. So this league, RF is probably going to be a pretty good damn build. I don't really care about these metacrafting mods and whatnot. They really don't apply to most players. We're talking about bound fossils now increase the likelihood of rolling curse mods as well, so they're trying to cater for they're trying to cater for curse builds. Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail on this. Crafting is an entirely separate part of the game. As far as I see it, thousands of individual changes have been made to mod tags, so to assist with understanding the implications. Ooh. Holy shit, okay. So they're playing with the crafting system as well. Jeez, this is an entire video in its own right. That is a lot of shit going on there. So it looks like they're comprehensively retooling the way that crafting works off of Harvest League, obviously, because they have to now cater for Harvest League, setting a precedent that can't be met with the current crafting meta. So there'll be some interesting ways to craft gear by the looks, especially with the use of new skills that are coming out. So corroded fossils and prismatic fossils now affect mods with both physical and ailment or chaos and ailment tags rather than the bleeding and poison. So they're converting some of the fossils and the way that they work. Yeah. Overall, I don't think the changes are necessarily unmerited. I'm a little annoyed about the fact that they've added in these really cool mechanics last league and they're just stripping them back out or making them less playable. Ball lightning, like, come on, really? Like, why? Just leave it the way that it was. If someone likes playing ball lightning, let them play it, for God's sake. Spell Slingers, there's nothing wrong with how that was playing last league. I don't think there's any, why change that. Redemption Sentries, okay, I'll give them credit. Redemption Sentries are ridiculous. They're still going to be ridiculous, just slightly less ridiculous. I would say, even with these changes, I would say 22% of players are still going to play Necromancers, so I don't think it's going to make any difference there. But we'll see how that goes. Definitely interested to see how Vitality works going forwards, and I'm interested to see what they do with the Cluster Jewels as well. Hopefully they also provide more power in unexpected ways. Anyway, I guess the patch notes will be out tomorrow or whatnot, so we'll look at this more tomorrow. Anyway, if this video sort of, I don't know, helps you understand what some of the patch notes or what some of these manifesto topics mean, then like and sub. If you think that nerfing the game is absolutely needed, then give me a dislike, because I definitely don't think it is. I think dropping power is bullshit. But anyway, until next time, like and sub, and bye.